Yo y'all, this is Wasabi7, and today I'm going to show you another one of my all-time favorite games in the world, Diablo II, Lord of Destruction. This was obviously a sequel to the masterpiece that was Diablo 1 and the predecessor to the atrocity of a sequel that was Diablo 3. It was released in 2000, with an expansion being released in 2001 that reworked some skills, added 2 new heroes, a new act, and a bunch of other stuff. Continuing some years after the last game, you play as some guy or gal that heard that some evil shit was going down, so you're going to go there and stop it, all while getting filthy rich. Furthermore, through cinematics that appear right before each act in the game, it shows the perspective of the antagonist, which I've always thought humanized, or demonized given the circumstances, a villain that, in-game, only appears as an enemy monster to kill. There's also an exciting plot twist that sets the plot up for the expansion. This game is an ARPG, which either stands for American Role-Playing Game or Action Role-Playing Game, depending on who you ask. That means that you play as a character that levels up by killing enemies that get progressively harder in each area you go through, and that the game is split up into a certain amount of worlds or acts that each have a final boss that progresses you to the next one. The difference between Diablo 2 and other ARPGs is that Diablo 2 is next to perfect in almost every aspect, so much so that the entire genre of ARPGs are often simply called Diablo clones. In my experience, the main thing that makes an ARPG bad is when the combat, which makes up about 90% of the game, feels bland or repetitive. This is something that Diablo 2 nails that so many other games can't ever seem to quite hit on the head. It keeps a repetitive game constantly interesting, I feel, through the intricate character building. The character building is complex enough that someone who's especially interested can really get into it, trying to perfect every finite detail, but simple enough that it can be learned quickly so as to be able to start playing without having a specific build in mind. There's 5 stats: Strength, which is damage output; Dexterity, which is chance to hit and to be hit; Vitality, which is stamina and life; and Energy, which is mana. Most weapons and armor usually require you to have a certain amount of strength and dexterity as well. This can make for some very unique designs. Put every point into strength and you'll be dishing out damage like crazy, but you'll probably take a lot too. Put all your points into vitality though, and you won't be doing a lot of damage. But if you have a lot of strength, you'll be able to wear better armor. Alternatively, if you have a lot of vitality, you could try wearing armor that damages enemies when they damage you. Another thing that's been complimented about it in this game a lot is the loot table. Every enemy has a chance to drop certain types of loot, and then a certain chance to drop specific items in that loot table. There's 5 types of gear. Normal, which is self-explanatory; Magic, which has some random special properties; Rare, which has a lot of magic properties; Unique, which is like Rare, but there's usually 1 or 2 especially good aspects to it; and Set, which gets better and better the more items that you equip that are part of that set. Something else that gear can have are sockets. Sockets allow for gems and runes to be put inside, giving them extra magical properties, like lifesteal or elemental damage. This brings me to one of the most popular parts about the game: rune words. Rune words are when you put a specific amount of certain types of runes into select socketed items in the right order. While this can take forever finding the right items with the right amount of sockets and runes, it's entirely worth it since it basically turns your regular item into a unique item on its own. Now, with all these items and all this character design, you must be thinking, how is the replayability in this game? Well, I'll start by saying I probably have more hours in this game than any other game I've ever played. With 5 acts, 3 difficulty modes, 7 characters, an online ladder that is still going, even 20 years after this game's release, and an incredible amount of builds to make, it's a game that has remained popular with a sizable player base. There's also a catalog of total conversion mods if you've played through the various difficulties of the vanilla game. That's another thing about this game, is the difficulty. I have absolutely no complaints. It seems like a perfect mix between accessibility and challenging. It's a game where every fight can kill you if you don't stay alert, but using your array of skills you'll have no problem fighting. The best thing is that if the game is too easy for you, you'll start to progress faster, and, since you won't have leveled up as much as the enemies, they'll seem harder. Respectively, if you find the game too challenging, the longer you take to beat a certain area or quest, the more you'll level up, and the game will start to become easier. Once you've beaten the game, you can replay it in Nightmare mode. This will drop your magic resistances by 30, introduce far more unique monsters, and make an overall more complicated, challenging game. If you manage to beat that, then there's Hell mode, which makes most enemies immune to certain elements and drops your resistances by an additional 70. Plus, you can barely find a group of enemies without running into a mini-boss. I think their names suit the experience you'll get out of them. But when spending so much time playing this game, you'll without a doubt want it to be a pleasurable experience. Well, to both the eyes and the ears, this game works wonders. It may be capped at 800 by 600 pixels and have sprite-based pixel art, but I think that both of these things get bad raps anyways. Each animation is fluid and easily identifiable, making it clear to see everything that's happening around you. It's never a question when I'm fighting or what I or my enemies are doing because the animations are all so distinct and real-looking despite the resolution. Adding to that, the sound effects share all of these qualities. When something makes a sound, I immediately know what made it despite the similarity of some. The music fits the theme of the game flawlessly, a dark, ominous tone to match the demonic occupation of the land, with a kick that emphasizes you're coming for them. All the songs in this game sound like the theme of the place that you're in, but that it's been corrupted by the same demons that you go to face. Cooler yet, some music have samples from the soundtrack of the original game sprinkled in. Here's some snippets from a couple of my favorites. I don't exactly know what happened with the last act of the game, but I have a feeling the music wasn't made by the same person. The expansion music sounds more like a movie soundtrack than a game. I could go on and on about how amazing this game is, but I feel like I should end the video somewhere. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then please leave a like and subscribe to join the Chorus Rebellion. Also, if you like the content on this channel and want to support me, there's a link in the description to do so. I'd suggest this game to anyone who likes video games at all, and have put links in the description of where to get the game. That's about it. See ya. So I don't know how I did this, but this is like post-recording of all the scripted stuff. This isn't scripted, but there's a secret cow level to the game, and I don't know how I forgot to mention that, but there's a reason for buying the game. Something else that gear can have are sockets. Sockets allow for gems? Gems? Really? I was about to say gems.